You are teaching people to disrespect you right now, and you may not even realize it. I spent 43 years as a clinical psychologist listening to thousands of people describe the same problem over and over again. Someone doesn't respect them. A boss, a parent, a spouse, a friend, and they want to know how to make that person change. After 4 decades of listening and analyzing patterns, I finally understood something most people never figure out. You cannot make anyone respect you. Respect does not work that way. But here's the good news. You can stop doing the things that actively invite disrespect into your life. And the truth is, you are probably doing those things right now, maybe even within the last hour. Before we go any further, I need you to understand something important. I am not here to make you feel good about yourself. I am not going to tell you to stand in front of a mirror, recite affirmations, or visualize your best self. None of that works. What I am going to share comes from listening to thousands of real confessions about relationships and watching the same damaging patterns repeat across decades. What I am about to tell you will be uncomfortable. It requires you to look honestly at your own behavior instead of pointing fingers at everyone else. But this is where real change begins. Lesson 1. Stop explaining yourself to everyone here is the first thing. Stop giving people detailed explanations for your decisions. And I mean this seriously. Every time someone questions a choice you've made and you launch into a justification, you are sending a silent but powerful message. My decisions require your approval. I need you to understand and agree before I proceed. Psychology research consistently shows that excessive self-justification is linked to lower perceived confidence and authority. When you explain yourself to people who have no legitimate reason to demand an explanation, you position yourself beneath them. You make yourself smaller. Let me give you an example. I had a patient, a brilliant architect in her early 40s, who could not understand why her mother still treated her like a child. Every time her mother questioned a career move, a parenting choice, or any decision, she spent 20 minutes defending herself. She would present evidence, cite reasons, practically build a legal case, and her mother just kept questioning. Why? Because the explaining itself was the problem. It trained her mother to expect a vote on every decision. The solution was simple but radical. I told her, "The next time your mother asks why you did something, just say, 'Because I decided to.' Then say nothing else." She looked at me as if I had asked her to jump off a building. It seemed impossible. But she tried it. 2 weeks later, she called me in tears. Her mother had been confused at first, then irritated, and finally, for the first time she could remember, actually respectful. The endless explanations had been conditioning her mother to expect validation. When she stopped explaining, the dynamic shifted. Respect began to emerge. Lesson 2. Learn to sit in silence. Here's the second thing, and this one is harder. Become comfortable with silence. I don't mean the kind of silence where you are fuming inside and planning your comeback. I mean actual silence. When someone says something disrespectful, you do not have to respond immediately. You do not have to respond at all. Research shows that people who react instantly to provocation are seen as more reactive and less authoritative. Silence is not passive. It is a choice. It communicates, "I am not going to play this game with you." A colleague of mine was constantly interrupted in meetings by a younger man who clearly did not take her seriously. She had tried everything, asserting herself, calling him out, joking, but nothing worked. I suggested she do something radical. Next time he interrupts, stop talking. Do nothing. Just look at him. She thought it was ridiculous, but she tried it. Mid-sentence, she stopped, turned, and stared at him for 5 seconds. The room went completely still. He stumbled over his words, trying to fill the silence. From that moment on, he never interrupted her again. She realized that his interruptions were designed to provoke a reaction. When she refused to react, she took away the power he was seeking. Silence can be far more powerful than words. Lesson 3. Be willing to lose the relationship. The third lesson is one of the hardest to accept. You must be willing to lose the relationship. I know how extreme that sounds, but it is the foundation of everything else. If you are not willing to walk away from a relationship where you are consistently disrespected, you are already telling the other person that they can treat you however they want. You are communicating, consciously or unconsciously, that your need for the relationship outweighs your need for respect, and they will act accordingly. I am not suggesting you abandon people at the first sign of conflict. That would be absurd. But you must have a real, unmovable line, not one you shift every time it becomes uncomfortable. I learned this lesson the hardest way possible. My son Robert and I had a difficult relationship for years. He felt I was too critical of his wife, and he was right. But when he confronted me, I could not admit I was wrong. My pride wouldn't allow it. I defended myself, explained, justified everything I had just told you not to do. One day, he stopped calling. That was 18 years ago. I have not heard his voice since. He drew a line, and I tested it, and I lost. I respect him for it, even though it breaks my heart. He was willing to lose the relationship with his own mother to preserve his self-respect and his marriage. I wish I had that clarity when I was younger. I wish I had known when to stop talking. But I didn't. And that is why I am telling you this. You must be willing to protect your self-respect, even if it costs a relationship. Lesson 4. Stop trying to change others. Start changing what you accept. The fourth lesson is one that almost everyone struggles with. Stop trying to change how people feel about you and start focusing on what you will and will not accept. Most people ask themselves, how do I make them respect me? How do I get them to see my value? How do I convince them I am worthy? This approach is completely backwards. You cannot control another person's perception. You cannot reach into their mind and rewrite their opinion. But what you can control is what you allow into your life, what behavior you tolerate, what treatment you accept. Let me give you an example. A patient once asked me how she could stop her husband from dismissing her opinions. I asked her, "What happens when he dismisses you?" She said she would argue, try to make her case, sometimes for hours. I suggested something radical. Next time he dismisses you, just leave the room. No explanation, no announcement, just gone. She was horrified. She thought he would think she was crazy. I said, maybe, or maybe he would learn that dismissing you has consequences. She tried it. The first time, he was stunned. The second time, angry. The third time, he paused before dismissing her. She had not changed his mind about her, but she had changed what she was willing to accept. And that shift changed everything. Respect starts with what you allow, not what you try to demand from others. Lesson 5. Examine whether you truly respect yourself. The fifth lesson is the one almost no one wants to hear, but it is the most important. You must examine whether you actually respect yourself. Here is the uncomfortable truth that 43 years of clinical practice has taught me. People who genuinely respect themselves rarely have chronic problems with disrespect from others. Not because disrespectful people don't exist, they do in abundance, but because those with true self-respect do not stick around for it. They do not tolerate it. They do not make excuses. They do not spend decades hoping someone will change. They leave. They enforce their own value through their choices and behavior. If you are constantly in situations where you are disrespected, I am not saying it is entirely your fault. That would be cruelly simplistic. But I am asking you to look honestly at why you stay. What are you getting from these relationships that keeps you there despite the cost? Fear of being alone, financial dependency, family pressure, hope that things will get better? These are real factors. I understand them, but they are also chains that keep you in place while someone treats you poorly. And at some point, you must choose the relationship or your self-respect. I chose wrong with my son. I chose pride over the relationship. He chose differently. He chose self-respect. Even though it cost me 18 years of his life, I understand why he did it. If I could go back, I would do it differently. I would have apologized. I would have changed. I would have known when to stop talking. But I did not have that wisdom when I was younger. The final truth from 98 years of life. I am now 98 years old. I have listened to more confessions about disrespect than I can count. And here is what I know with certainty. You cannot make anyone respect you. You can respect yourself so thoroughly, so completely, that disrespect has no place to land. You can stop explaining yourself to people who haven't earned explanations. You can sit in silence while others wait for your reaction. You can be willing to lose relationships that do not serve you. You can focus on what you accept, rather than trying to change what others believe. I am not pretending this is easy. I failed at most of it for decades. I am still failing at some of it, but I share this because maybe you will listen sooner than I did. Maybe you will save yourself the time I wasted. Maybe you will call your son before it is too late. Respect is not something others give you. It is something you embody, and once you embody it, you cannot be disrespected, not by strangers, not by loved ones, not even by those closest to you. Now that we have covered all 5 critical lessons, it is time to translate them into daily actions. Knowing the lessons is one thing. Applying them consistently, that is where true change happens. 1. Stop over-explaining yourself. Immediate action. The next time someone questions a decision you made, practice saying, "Because I decided to." Then stop talking, no further explanation. Daily habit. Review your conversations at the end of the day. Ask yourself, did I justify myself unnecessarily? Did I shrink my authority? Reflect and improve daily. Why it works. Every explanation you give without necessity communicates lack of confidence. Stop explaining and watch how people begin to take you seriously. 2. Use silence as a tool. Immediate action. The next time someone provokes or interrupts you, pause before responding. Just look, wait, and breathe. Daily habit. Practice brief moments of silence in safe settings, meetings, phone calls, or casual conversations. Build comfort with non-reaction. Why it works. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. It communicates power and forces others to respond differently. 3. Be willing to lose the relationship. Immediate action. Identify one relationship where you feel consistently disrespected. Ask yourself, am I willing to walk away if necessary? Daily habit. Set and maintain clear boundaries. Write them down if you need to. Review them weekly to make sure you are honoring yourself. Why it works. Respect requires that you value yourself above others' opinions. When you are willing to lose a relationship rather than tolerate disrespect, you reclaim your authority. 4. Focus on what you accept, not others' opinions. Immediate action. When someone dismisses you or your ideas, pause and evaluate. Do I accept this treatment or do I withdraw? Daily habit. Keep a journal of situations where you feel dismissed. Document your choice of response: silence, walking away, or calmly enforcing your boundary. Why it works. You cannot control what others think. You can control what you accept, and that control shifts the balance of respect immediately. 5. Build self-respect every day. Immediate action. Identify areas where you compromise your values or tolerate disrespect. Choose one small action today to honor yourself. Daily habit. End each day reflecting. Did I stand up for my worth today? Did I let anyone treat me beneath my value? Practice saying no, enforcing boundaries, and making choices that reinforce your self-respect. Why it works. People who truly respect themselves naturally repel disrespect. Self-respect becomes a shield and a beacon, attracting the right people and repelling the wrong ones. At 98 years old, I can tell you this with absolute clarity. Respect cannot be demanded. It can only be embodied. The most powerful form of respect is self-respect, applied consistently every day. These actions are simple, but they require courage and discipline. You will fail sometimes, and that is okay. What matters is that you keep trying, keep practicing, and keep refining your boundaries. When you adopt these practices, you do not just protect yourself from disrespect, you transform your entire life. People respond differently, relationships shift, and most importantly, you finally feel the dignity you deserve. At this point, you know the lessons. You've seen the examples. You understand the tools. Stop over-explaining yourself. Use silence as a powerful response. Be willing to lose relationships that undermine your self-respect. Focus on what you accept rather than what you cannot control. Build and enforce your self-respect every single day. But now I want to leave you with the ultimate truth. Respect is not something others give you. It is something you embody. And the moment you fully embody it, disrespect simply has no place to land. It will bounce off you. You cannot be manipulated, diminished, or controlled by those who do not value you. I have listened to thousands of people confess the pain of being disrespected. I have lived long enough to make every mistake myself, and I can tell you this with absolute certainty. The person who respects themselves never allows disrespect to define their life. The person who stands by their boundaries forces others to either respect them or step aside. The person who stops chasing validation reclaims the dignity that belongs to them naturally. I made mistakes. I over-explained. I tolerated behavior I should have stopped. I let pride get in the way of my relationships. My son and I have been estranged for 18 years because of it. But I learned the hard way, and I am sharing this with you so you don't have to learn the same way. Here is what I want you to do today. Look at your relationships and identify where respect is lacking. Decide what you will and will not tolerate. Stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. Use silence strategically. Strengthen your self-respect every day with clear boundaries and courageous choices. Do this consistently, and you will notice a shift, not just in how others treat you, but in how you feel about yourself. Respect is not something you negotiate. It is something you embody, protect, and enforce through your choices. Do this and your life transforms. You become unshakable. You become a person who commands respect without begging for it. I am 98 years old. I have seen more of life than most people can imagine. I have seen the pain, the frustration, and the heartbreak of disrespect. And here is what I know for certain. You cannot make anyone respect you, but you can respect yourself so profoundly, so unwaveringly, that disrespect has nowhere to land. Stand up. Be silent when necessary. Walk away when you must. Enforce your boundaries. Honor your self-worth. Live a life where respect is your default state, not something you beg for. Do this, and your life will never be the same.